Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, I want to cover the Rashford situation. I want to talk about Nunes, though there's not really much in that at the moment. I want to talk about Rabiot, Werner, Ziyech, Ronaldo, and the expected 11 for Saturday's game against Brentford. First, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. We've teamed up with OneFootball to help bring you the best in football news. If you're looking to keep up with everything going on as we move in towards the close of the window and into the full swing of games, download the OneFootball app today for free on your iPhone or Android. Their easy-to-use app is clean and attractive. You can see the latest transfers, top news curated for you, match scores live, streaming without subscription, and so much more, all built and personalized for your interests, your teams, your leagues, your clubs. Click the link in the description below today to download OneFootball and get all your football news, aside from the Muppetiers, all in one place. All right, so let's talk first about Marcus Rashford. The news obviously came out in this big briefing yesterday that Marcus was looking to leave, or that PSG were in talks to buy Marcus Rashford and would be looking to sign him this summer, and that he'd held discussions with PSG, or his representatives rather had held discussions with PSG in Paris over the last few days. So I put out information on Twitter yesterday immediately because I find this to be extremely tedious, unfortunately. Rashford has a contract until 2024 with the option that United have, which they will extend, not 2023. He has not asked to leave. PSG have been interested in him for years and have tried to buy him on a few occasions. I put this out back in May, some of this, and it remains true today. There have been things that have come out from journalists, from his representatives in recent months that are not reflective of his desires. It is my understanding, I know this to be true, that Marcus Rashford did not and has not himself asked to leave, nor back in May or April, I think it was he aware of or in agreement with stories that he wanted to move and wanted a new challenge that were being put out to him, to the media, as they did some time ago. His goal for the season and Ten Hag's goal for him, that has been discussed between the two of them many times, is to get Rashford back up and firing and back to his best. This is something Eric talked about even in the beginning when he was discussing with United and in his interviews. This is something Eric wants. I see a lot of people who want, at this point, Rashford to leave. It's kind of silly to me, especially given that Eric thought he was a key part of his plans and a huge part of what he's doing this summer. Give him the year, give Eric the year to see if he can turn things around. I think he's earned the chance for one more season, I've said this before, to get back into form. Last season he only played 1,500 minutes, and it was coming off being racially abused at the Euros and a major surgery that he played through, where the prior season he played 4,000 minutes while needing surgery and had nearly 40 goal contributions. So, you can think what you want, but I think that 1,500 minutes isn't that much. It was very haphazard with a lot of 10, 15, 12-minute times. And with consistent minutes under Ten Hag, we'll see how he does. It's not expected that United will extend his contract this year. They also want to see, as he does, how he does this year and perform. So it's not a risk. It's something we can't afford to lose players right now who could be providing the level of contributions he has for multiple years in the past. He's happy at United. He wants to stay and get back to his best this year. And that has been confirmed by many people at this point in time. It was confirmed quickly afterwards, though I said right away that that was the case. I want to talk about Nunes. There's nothing in this for United. United did scout him earlier in the year. It was recommended by certain people in the recruitment structure, and it somewhat blows my mind that they will not go for him while at the same time they're pursuing Rabiot. West Ham made an offer for him. He wants to go to a bigger club in the Premier League. It's like sitting there waiting. He has the interest of City, who will probably replace Bernardo Silva with him in the future. He has the interest of others. And, it's like, it's just crazy to me. He's a young player, super high potential. And if you're looking at Rabiot, he's better than him in every aspect and is more of the right profile. When you factor the wages that Rabiot is asking for, a 45 million purchase for Nunes, with the wages he'd be on coming from Portugal, which would be smartly for United to put low wages in, 75,000 a week or so, like Bruno came on. You're talking about over a 5-year contract. What is that? That's 65 million or so over a 5-year contract is the total cost of the deal. You buy Rabiot for 20 million and you're paying him 200,000 a week like he's requesting. Then you're talking about over a 4-year contract, the same amount of money for Adrien Rabiot as you would get a player like Matthias Nunes. I don't get it. It's annoying to me. And I don't see why they will not turn to these, except that it's a matter of they've completely abandoned any pretense of recruitment structure. And I cannot stress this enough, why I do not like this Rabiot signing. People say it's an upgrade on McFred, it's an upgrade on these players, and I cannot make it clear enough why I don't like it. If you go look at Liverpool's recruitment for the last 6 years, if you go look at Manchester City's for the last 6 years, did every single signing work? No. But there's one thing they all have in common. There's only 2 profiles that both clubs have in common. There's only 2 profiles of players that they bought. And Liverpool started lower than we did with less money than we have. And there's only 2 profiles that they went. I mean, they were in 8th, right? When Klopp was in there. They were not doing well. They're either proven top-level players, Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, Salah, etc., or high-potential young players, and they don't give them big wages. Those are the only 2 types of players that they bought, and they didn't all work. But like with Minamino, they bought him, didn't work out. They're able to sell him. Why? He's young. He'd be wanted elsewhere. He's on low wages. We even did it. Dan James, young, has potential, has energy, wasn't on high wages, actually made a profit on the sale. We don't get stuck with him. It's not deadwood. What is deadwood? Deadwood is buying mediocre, mid-level players who are over the age of 25, who have no resale value, putting them on big wages simply to fix a problem in the 1 year, in the present moment. That is how we are screwed, and that is why we will be screwed in buying players like Rabiot, just to be very negative about it. Because next year, when you have Bruno Eriksson, Van de Beek, Fred, McTominay, Rabiot, and any youth players, tell me that you're not going to hear, we have to make sales before we can make purchases. And you know why we won't make sales? Because they're all on 150,000 or higher. And nobody's going to pay for them when we're not winning and things aren't going great and they're not lighting up the league. And if they're lighting up the league, you don't want to sell them. So it's a no-win situation here, something like this. You cannot continue to make these signings because you're just cementing yourself as that is your goal and where you're heading. It is better not to have them and find the young high potential players and sign them. You can't tell me Nunes wouldn't come without Champions League. You couldn't tell me Basuma wouldn't have joined without Champions League. You couldn't tell me that Kamara, Cheek Doucouré, that these are the types of players out there that have been signed by other clubs wouldn't come without Champions League. You don't need Champions League to get good young high potential players on good wages. You need it for the top talents to finish out your team, but you build it with those younger higher potential players from within the league and from without the league that want to take a step up to a bigger club, and they still get a pay rise. They're making 10, 20K a week at these clubs. You pay them 50, 75. It's a huge bonus for them. And that's the big mistake that I think is being made. Today, Murtaugh's in Turin. He finished up the meeting discussing with Rabiot's mother about wages. What he is asking for is 225,000 a week euros, which would make him one of our top paid players on a 3+1 contract. Obviously, there's negotiations, but apparently they did not leave the meeting with agreement, so they couldn't have gotten that close. And to me, it's a poison pill we're about to swallow if we make a deal like this. It's a type of signing that you make on a 1+1 like Cavani. Cavani was getting paid 200,000 a week, which is a lot. But he was signed on a 1+1. They could have just let him go. And it doesn't hold up making future signings. That's the type of signing you make if you're trying to fix a problem. Even Arnautovic, terrible signing in terms of the person. Should never have happened. But it is the right idea. 1+1, a player like that, that's how you solve an immediate crisis in a situation. That's the solution to it, not these long-term deals on big wages. So it doesn't make sense. I'm very frustrated by the idea, and to me it's very representative of poor planning. As with any player we do sign, if we sign him, I'll back him, I'll hope it works out. But again, it's a player in the downswing of his career, asking for big wages and guarantees. that will not have resale value, that we will not be able to shift in the future if it happens. And I'm not a fan, but it is probably going to happen. In addition to that, apparently United did try for Werner and failed, which is just even more embarrassing than trying in the first place. Because again, it's a distinct lack of planning. Werner is a player that obviously doesn't have the interest or look that he can succeed in the Premier League after leaving Chelsea. Doesn't fit a possession team, is best running in behind, struggles to finish, matches a lot of the problems we have now. And he's completely dissimilar to, say, a Darwin Nunes or Marko Arnautovic, were apparently the types of profiles that we were looking at. So why? What's the point of doing this? Why even try? Now Ten Hag would like Ziyech, but this isn't being approved. And I would be more open to Ziyech because he'd be very affordable. Again, he's in the downswing of his career, but it would be known that it's specifically a depth signing in an area where we have none. Very affordable, someone Ten Hag has worked with, has a profile that we don't have. Signing Ziyech doesn't stop you from making signings in the future because he's going to be behind Jadon Sancho. You've got a starting caliber level player in position there. We don't in the midfield, and that's why you cannot make those types of signings there. So Ziyech would be more like a Shaqiri type signing, right? You sign him on lower wages, lower fee to provide something off the bench, specifically in an area where you have a starter already. But why is he being rejected? Well, I think what's happened here is, as I said, United were looking everywhere for signings, and they've been offered so many players. I think the Arnautovic thing poisoned the well a little bit for Eric here with his suggestions. It was his suggestion, a former player of his, and I think that the board would be unhappy to sign players that are now maybe more former ones of his, or he has prior relationships that are not necessarily in the big, on the up and up in their careers. It was a big black mark for the club, and it might have turned things a little bit about just going for specifically targets Eric is familiar with and players. So that's what I think is happening there, why they seemingly or reportedly have not approved it. That's in addition to, of course, the ongoing endless Frenkie de Jong saga. And you'll notice the news recently has been way more negative about it, with most United reporters saying they don't believe it will happen. But it's also turned and indicated that it was Ten Hag who said he didn't want to go to alternatives and felt confident he was joined. And I see this as a bit of an ugly situation. Building, it's a failure on all sides. I think everyone is starting to realize this has not been a good summer. And they've not gotten what they set out to do, nor was it a good plan to abandon your entire recruitment structure to just go for who the manager signs. And I place almost all the blame at the door of the club and the director of football in this case. Not to get high and mighty about it, but back in May, I said in April, I said many times, and I had many people disagree with me, that I was concerned the club would just go with fan sentiment with decisions, and I think that's what they're doing. They figured Eric has the fans' backing and will be their shield in the window, pursue his targets, his wants, his names, his lists, and then if it goes badly, they can blame him. But he's got all the fan support, so people would accept it and agree with every decision that was being made. But the stories are already turning a bit to try to pin the blame on him. And realize what I'm saying here. I do not blame Erik ten Hag for this. He's the coach. He should have been the coach. Of course he's going to back himself and his ideas. They should have had the structure in place. The whole line about hiring a manager like Erik ten Hag and why they chose him was that he would fit into a more modern structure of recruitment and all of that. So it's hugely disappointing to me. It's hugely disappointing to me. It's a big mistake from what I can tell, seeing them do this, what they are doing. And now we're seeing the outcome of it, and I think they're starting to question how good an idea it was to abandon all the recommendations from scouts, analysts, and people who have been at the club a long time and try to use Eric as a shield because it hasn't worked. Cristiano Ronaldo is also staying. As I said earlier, Joel Glazer was blocking his exit. I was told that a couple days ago again. And Manu Sainz today says Ronaldo is staying. Which to me at this stage is a good thing. See, when you're talking about all these striker targets and things like that, I didn't want Ronaldo to leave without replacement. And I think I've said a long time that United play much better with a striker than without. The false nine was a big error at the weekend that allowed Brighton to exploit United. And we were better when Ronaldo came on and applied some pressure to the back line and stretched Brighton out. I'd rather have Ronaldo, whose contract expires in a year, than sign Werner or sign Arnautovic or sign someone like that that's going to prevent you from making signings in the future, because you have to understand the point here. If you sign Arnautovic for 3 years, Arnautovic plus the contract is the problem there. Arnautovic plus Martial better be good enough to win the league, because you're not getting another one. Same goes for Werner. That's why I don't like it. If you sign Rabiot in the midfield and you have 7 midfielders, it better be good enough to win the league, or because you're not going to get more. And the sales, we've never been able to sell. We still can't sell Bailly, Tuanzebe, Jones, and all these players. That's the problem. And so I'd rather have Ronaldo, where next summer you get huge wage clearance and there's nobody there, and you can buy whatever you want at striker, like an Nkunku, and you're not held back from doing that. That's the best way to go about it. That is ideally where you want to go with the situation. And if we're looking at solutions late in the window now, I'd much prefer short-term solutions than ones that are on 3 or 4 year contracts that are on the wrong side of 25 heading towards 30 on high wages. So finally, to close it out, talking about Ronaldo, let's go to the expected 11 for Brentford. Starting at the top, I think you get Rashford, Ronaldo, Sancho. I don't think there's a lot of choices here. It essentially has picked itself. Martial's still not training, which means he's probably going to be out 2 or 3 more weeks, unfortunately. I don't think you have any other choice than those 3 players right now to get some consistent minutes going. In the midfield, I think it'll be Bruno, Eriksen, and Fred. I think it's what Ten Hag goes with. I hope so. Brentford don't have as much height and physicality as Brighton. They don't play the same way as Brighton. They can't switch to the back 3 the same way as Brighton, I don't believe. So, we got a good result with them under Ralph last year with a 4-3-3. Fred was very good that day. You need a lot of energy and movement in the midfield to counter what they do and to beat them. And if you can do that and play through them with a lot of passing, then you'll win. And I think that that Ten Hag really has to make a movement towards high energy attacking football and try to score some goals. And I think that midfield is the best bet to do so. In the back line, I expect no changes. Shaw, Martinez, Maguire, Dalot, and David De Gea. And I can't see, that's it, really. I don't see many changes overall, really just Ronaldo coming in. It would be, to me, a huge mistake, despite the game that Fred had, to replace him instead of McTominay and lose any semblance of passing and pressing and energy. I think it should be, in the preseason, we played a certain way with Fred at the base the whole time, and despite having a bad game, it worked a lot better when you had him with some 8s and played teams that were more of Brentford's quality. So that's the best setup. Continue to try to do what they did in the preseason for now, and I think it'll work. So that's what I expect for the game. I think it'll be a much better result. I think there were things that went the wrong way for Brighton, but I hope that Ten Hag understands things on what he's doing and doesn't panic too much when it comes to the team and comes to signings, because we need to make the right decisions, and I trust him to coach things well and do it, and he'll pick what he'll pick in terms of the team, and I'll back that. But he needs to get a result this weekend for sure to turn things around and see where things go. But I don't expect to have other major transfer news until next week at this point in time. I'll let you know if I do. In the meantime, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next one.